Before we get going with sculpting, I wanted to show you how to build your own custom interface inside of ZBrush. So you might have saw in the last video, it becomes a little cumbersome to tap B and then remember the brush that you're going to use and then go ahead and pick it out of there. It is possible to build up your own little interface like this for the different brushes. So once you get used to using certain brushes and certain things, you can actually put that here on the interface. So I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do that. To start this off, I've already got my own custom interface, so I'm going to go to config, and I'm going to restore the standard UI for ZBrush just so I can take you through these steps like this. The next thing you want to do is go to your preferences and then go to config and then say enable customize, and this will put ZBrush in a mode that will allow you to start building your own custom interface. So I'm going to tap that, and you can see that these areas kind of grew a little bit, and it's kind of telling you this is different areas that you can put things in. So the main thing we're kind of concerned about with is brushes. So I'm going to take the brush palette and I'm just going to dock it over here to the right. So it's just this, clicking this button or clicking and dragging it over into the area you want to throw it into. So you can see I want to use the standard brush, and if I want to pull this little icon out and push it down here, I can hold down Control and Alt and go to the standard brush and just click and drag, and you can see it's going to snap down into this area like this. So I could just click it and drag it, and if I put it into the viewport here, it's like throwing it into the trash can. So if you want to get rid of things, that's one way that you can do that. You can go ahead and just hold down Control and Alt, click and drag it over like this, and it'll snap into that area. Now if we were to drag this big icon, we could drag this over and it would snap in there, but you can see it's actually this brush icon thing here. So when we hold down buttons, it's actually changing that. That's not what we want. We want the actual individual brushes. So we're going to have to find the brushes and then drag them over. So I like the standard brush, and if I find the Damien standard brush, so we can go hit B and then tap D, and then there's the Damien standard brush right there like that, and you should see it build up in this trough over here. It's probably going to throw it down here at the bottom, or it should be somewhere in there. So you're just going to have to kind of look out for whenever you select these brushes, they're going to pop up over here. So again, hold down Control and Alt, and that's going to drag that over like this. And the clay tubes brush is another one that I like to use, so I'm going to tap B and then C for clay, and then we got clay tubes here. Going to have that selected so you can see it built that up over here in this menu. Control Alt, drag this over like this. And I like the move brush, use that quite a bit, so tap B and then M for move. We've got that selected here, so we can hold down Control and Alt, drag that over. Polish brushes. So I'm going to get into all these different brushes, but I'm just going to try to go through the brushes that I use the most. So if you tap B and then H, this is the only brush in the H menu right now currently, so that just pops right up in there. It doesn't even show you a brush for that. So hold down Control and Alt. I'm going to drag that over. And if I hit 6, I've got hotkeys for this. I'm going to go over how to make hotkeys. So this is the polish brush. So I'm going to tap B and then P, and then we've got polish right here. And I'm going to hold on Control and Alt, drag that over like this. And then inflate, I like that one that kind of blows things up like a balloon. We saw that in the earlier video. So tap B and then I, and we've got inflate is right here. So I'll hold down Control and Alt, drag that over. And rake, sometimes I use that brush. Tap B and then R. Got that. Hold down Control and Alt, drag it over. The morph brush, that one's a little more technical. You can store a morph state, like you can hold this shape like this, and you can do some operations to it. You can sculpt on it, and if you want to get it back, you can put it on the morph brush, and it'll paint back into that original state. B, M, then hit morph, and hold down Control and Alt. Trim dynamic, this brush is really awesome, so it flattens out shapes depending on what you're looking at from the camera. It's really nice for hard surface stuff. So tap B and then T and then trim dynamic. I'm going to pull that over. And let's see, I think that's good for the brushes right now. So if you want to save this, we're going to go to Preferences and go out of this Enable Customize, and you can see it's going to put the UI back into its normal state like this. And if you want it to load with ZBrush every time, you're going to have to say Store Config, and that will store this configuration. And it'll load every single time. And if you want to save this UI, if you want to share it with people, you can hit the Save UI, and then it's going to ask you for an area where you want to save it to, and obviously you can save it wherever you want. And if you want to pull that up on somebody else's computer or yours for a later time, you can hit this Load UI, and it's going to load that up for you. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is hotkeys, how to set hotkeys up for this. So I just map these to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and the 0 key for this. Okay, so you could build this up even further, but these are the brushes that I'm using quite a bit. Probably not the morph brush so much or the rake brush, but everything else I use quite a bit. So to build the hotkeys for this, it's pretty simple. Just like what we did before, you hold down Control and Alt, and you can click on it, and you can see up top here it's going to tell you some information. I'm going to have to do that again. So Control Alt, click on it, and it says press any key combination to assign custom hotkey, or if you want to hit Escape, you can get out of this. So I have this mapped to the 2 key, so I can just tap 2, and it'll be mapped to the 2 key, like this. This one's mapped to 3, so again, to set that hotkey up, you just hit Control Alt, click on it. You'll see the message up at the top, and then you just tap the key combination that you want for this. So when we get into subtools, something that I think is pretty handy, this solo button, instead of having to actually click it all the time, you can set hotkeys for other things in the interface. So if I hit Control Alt and hit that, I have it mapped to Alt S, and that makes it pretty easy to turn on certain things like that. So don't think that the hotkeys are only available just for brushes. They're available for other things as well. So if we want to save the hotkeys, there's under Preferences, there's a hotkeys area where you can store, just like we did before. So the hotkeys will load with ZBrush every single time. You can also save out the hotkeys and you can load them. So you can make hotkeys and you can share them with people on your team, or you can move it from one computer to the other. And if you want to load that, just go ahead and click that and load that up. So those are some little tips and tricks to help you build maybe your own little custom interface, and then also set up hotkeys to make it easier to get to the brushes that you're looking for. So when I go through in the videos later on, I'm going to be using either my custom interface, or I'll be using some of the hotkeys that I set up for this. So just want to make sure that you understand how that's possible to do this, and I highly encourage you to make the hotkeys and to make your own custom little interface, because it will help speed up your workflows quite a bit with inside of ZBrush.